This is Shadows in the Peaks, a Legends of the Five Rings actual play from Stories with Dice. If you're enjoying our actual plays, please subscribe to Stories with Dice so you never miss an episode. Don't forget to rate and review us. It really helps others discover the podcast. Follow us on social media to stay updated. You'll find the relevant links in the description of each episode.
Hi, welcome back to another episode. It's Five Rings, as it has been for the last however many episodes it has. I lose count sometimes. In fact, I lose count of a lot of things.
As six episodes.
Six episodes, okay.
Yes.
That's always good. Well, in that case, we'll just say hi to everyone. Hey, Marco, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? I'm fine, thank you.
Tony, hi.
Hello. Good afternoon.
Charlotte, how's stuff with you?
Greetings and salutations. Stuff with me are stuff. They're stuffing. They're things. They're thinging. It's going to be a busy day today.
Right, I need more beer. Scott, how are you?
I'm just feeding off the energy coming from my fellow players today. Everyone seems so enthusiastic.
Woo! That's because we have no idea what we're doing. Okay, so we left off last time. You'd come to the next tea house. And in the tea house, you caught sight of our mysterious man in the white and grey. The rod from my own back that I created as a throwaway character has gone wrong. But before that, I ended last session with the birth of Rokugan and a story around that. So actually, I've done a little tiny bit of prep, just a little bit. So you are watching these performers perform the founding of the Rokugani Empire. And so we open on this scene. There is a black void. There's sort of colours sort of flapping down the sides of the stage. I mean, the stage is sort of like a setup just off to the side of the tea house, or in the tea house, but in the corner of the room. Lots of different coloured ribbons sort of flapping around. Before the world had shape, before names had meaning, there was the breath. So begins the chant of a dragon monk who comes on stage. Not with fire or war, but with silence. The celestial heavens shimmered with 10 kami, born of Lady Sun's brilliance and Lord Moon's shadow. But even then, the void whispered. Togashi heard it, not as a voice, but as a question. The kami looked down upon the mortal realm, a place of suffering and yearning. Hantei saw a throne, Akodo saw a battlefield, Doji saw a court. Bayashi saw masks, Shinju saw roads, Shiba saw sacrifice, Isawa saw power, Fuleng saw dominion, Togashi saw possibility. When the kami leapt from the heavens, Togashi did not fall. He descended, not in fire, but in stillness. He chose the mountains where the stars touched the earth. There he waited, not to rule, but to watch. Fuleng, too, fell, but not by choice. The void twisted his path, or perhaps he chose a deeper truth, at which point the screen behind sort of raises up out of the void, and it is changed by mountains and sort of pine trees, sort of like crudely painted in the background. And then some people come out from the side. They all look like dragon monks, and they all say in unison, the first riddle, is the fall a punishment or a path? And they pose that as a question. A lot of music happens, there's some chanting, and then there's some drums, and sort of the screen sort of goes away. And then it comes back, and you're then left with a group of players on the stage, all of them having masks of all the different kami. From this mountain, Togashi watched the kami shape the world. Each built a clan, a legacy, and a mask. Hantei forged the empire. He bound it in law. And you can see sort of Hantei sort of walk center stage, and he has got a whole pile of scrolls, which he's kind of showing everyone, and then he walks off. Akodo taught honor. He made war sacred. Akodo comes out full in battle armor, sort of all the yellows and the browns, and he kind of like pulls out his sword and does a couple of cuts in the air, and then stomps off, kind of quite jokingly. Next, Doji crafted beauty, but demanded perfection. The Lord Doji comes out, and he has in his hand a sword by his side, and this person sort of holding like a painting easel, and he's got a paintbrush in the other one, and he's just going at it all over the place on the actual easel, and both sort of walk off. Bayushi whispered truths, but hid his face, and this guy in black and red kind of comes in. He's got this over-exaggerated mask with all the scorpion motif around the edges, and he sort of like very coyly opens up this overly sized fan, which he sort of flaps around, and then walks off. And then Shinjo rode far, but left her heart behind. This female riding a horse, which is essentially one of those sort of ponies that you kind of put your feet into, and then you hold the reins, but has got this sort of like long black flowing hair. She sort of like goes off to the side. Shiba bowed to Isawa, but lost his voice, and Shiba's kind of comes on with Isawa, sort of like doing this quiet comical bow and basically doing whatever Isawa wants. Fuleng raged, but was once a brother, and this dark sort of like oni red shaped kind of person kind of like steps on stage, and some people, there's a low kind of hiss and stuff from people. Togashi did not build a city. He built a monastery. He did not name a clan. He named but a question. The Dragon Clan was born not of conquest, but of contemplation. Its samurai were scribes and swordsmen, poets and prophets. They did not seek answers, they sought meaning. Togashi comes along bare-chested as this monk, and he kind of like walks in very much not a caricature like the others, but a somber kind of reflective kind of person. And he stops in the middle of the stage and says, "The second riddle, is a mask a lie or a truth waiting to be seen?" Everything kind of goes black again, and there's some more music, there's some more sort of like drums. People kind of come around and offer you all sort of sake or tea as you sort of like have almost like an intermission. And then the screens open again, and you've got this dark, wasted land in the background. You can see, this is the Shadowlands. You can see a large sort of the crab wall sort of like painted off to the side. The monks say again, "Fuleng rose, twisted by the void. His army of horrors swept across the land." In the background, you can see all these paper oni and stuff that are sort of really large compared to some of the samurai that are on stage. The kami fought, the empire bled. The 12 black scrolls were sealed, but were not destroyed. Togashi did not fight as others did, and there's a whole load of fighting, sort of like mock fighting on stage. He walked among the dying, and Togashi kind of makes his way amongst all those that have fallen down, throwing out these red ribbons to show blood. He walks among the dying. He whispered to the Oni. He touched the edge of madness, and he returned. He saw that Fuleng was not a villain. He was a mirror, a warning, a possibility. The war ended, the empire endured, but the questions remained. The third riddle. Is evil a force or a choice we make again and again? All the monks come out, and they all say, "The story of Rokugan is not written in ink, but in breath. Every choice, every duel, every betrayal adds a line. Togashi lives still," they say. Or perhaps he died long ago. Or perhaps he's reborn in every soul who asks why. The final riddle. Is the story of Rokugan a tale of gods or of mortals who dare to dream of being gods? And then everything kind of closes. And then everyone kind of like does very much sort of a very sedate kind of clap. And then all the performers come back on stage. They all bow. And then they all kind of like go their separate ways. And the rest of the tea house erupts in conversation about, well, this is a very different thing. Now, all of you know that this is a very stylized founding of Rokugan, specifically seen through the dragon's eyes as opposed to your own clans. Hironobu, you would have had the founding be very much about, obviously, the perfection and about how the crane were there to sort of bring peace amongst the clans, that kind of thing. Again, the Isawa is about knowledge and being able to understand the power of the kami and to entreat them. That's the kind of stuff that you learn. Hiroshi, your kind of understanding of Rokugan is very different because Shinjo was a kami for quite a long time, and until they went off to the Burning Lands, she was there. So she actually stayed, apart from Togashi, one of the longest staying kami, like walked the world, and then disappeared, and then you all came back without her. And then, I guess, to a degree, Kitsune, Akira, yours is a relatively new clan in the grand scheme of all of them, and so the Mantis are not featured in the founding of Rokugan. The Mantis came from the Kred clan many, many years ago, so there is no sort of like founding Mantis clan or anything like that. And then your clan itself, your family, as being Kitsune, isn't even mentioned at all. So it's not even a footnote in the whole history of Rokugan.
Of course, I expect no less.
But everyone else seems to think it's really good. The play was called The Veil Between the Stars, and they were performed by the Mountain Gate Entertainment Troupe. So they seem to be quite a well-known troupe, and they all kind of like have a conversation, and they're happy to sort of like wander around. Now they've taken off all their masks, and they're sort of like, you know, traditional kind of dragon monks for the most part. Yeah, that kind of like gives you the rest of your evening. Are you going to particularly do anything, or are you kind of gonna, I don't know, what's your plan?
I'm thinking what would be the proper way to acknowledge that they did a good job, and would be okay if I invite them to a sake or something.
Absolutely,
like
that's fine.
So I will do that.
There is a tithe box to show your pleasure. You may add boo or zeni, or you know, if you're really, really generous, koku, which I don't think anyone's going to do. And of course, if you just stand up and obviously introduce yourself and explain that you really enjoyed their work, that is probably far more rewarding to them in society than actually the money.
Yeah, I will probably do that. I will stand up, approach the crowd, and the troupe, and basically acknowledge that I really enjoy the representation and how the Crane clan, you know, help bring Rokugan to where it is now. And I will just ask for some sake, and I will invite them all to drink with me. I will not drink a lot, just a sip, just to be polite, but I will allow them to finish the bottle.
Cool. What is your status?
My status? That's a
and your question. Glory. How well known are you, and how well whereabouts you are?
Status is 0, and my glory is 1.
Okay.
No, yeah.
Okay.
I'm nobody.
That's fine. I'm just going to roll some dice. Hold on.
But I enjoy the fine arts.
Those dice have all question marks on them, so we don't know what you rolled.
Marco loves that.
My favorite thing in the whole world.
So the lady that you're speaking to, she bows and says, Lord Hironobu, I understand that you are from the Kikita family, and we have heard of you. You have great prowess with your dueling abilities. We are very honored to have such esteemed guests within our play. And they kind of bow very low.
And I'll bow too, not so low, but I will bow.
Okay. It turns out that they've heard of you.
In that case, I will tell them about one of my duels, in which, I don't know, I will talk about something that I actually did, but without being humble about it.
You can make a sincerity roll for me.
21.
Okay. Yeah, you pretty much explained about your duel. What was it, Tony? Tell me. What was your duel?
So it was in our lands with a gaijin, with somebody who was perhaps harassing, one of the villages in our lands. And there was this gaijin who was actually, not behaving well, like mistreating the villagers and taking advantage in one of the inns. And I basically, I guess I was working with the rest of the students of my Kakita class, and I basically confronted him and I told him that this was not a proper behavior and that he should be behaving properly. He basically stood out to me, and I just could not stand his way of talking to me, and I just told him to prove his value with a duel. And I basically, I just basically killed him.
Well, I'll tell you what you can do by your great way of explaining that. So when you're doing that, you obviously explain everything that's happened around the duel. And it's not just to her. There are people around you that are actually listening to this as well. Congratulations, you've explained basically what's happened in such a way you've actually raised your glory through doing that. I mean, normally it takes your lord to do that, but obviously your lord will have agreed to this, and you would have learned that way. So, but they don't know that. So at the moment, because that's happened, because you have the duel, you can have 0.2. So on your character sheet of glory, so I think you've got glory 1 at the moment. So it should have glory 1, and then there should be another box next to it. You just put 2 points in that. You've raised your glory by expressing who you are. So while the samurai are not overly boastful, when you're quite honest about something you've done, and you will use the quote unquote boast about it, you're basically saying this is how good I am, and other people acknowledge it. When they do that, you gain glory. If your boss or your senior sees that, you might raise in status or maybe in honor, depending on what it is that happens. Marco, anything you particularly want to do?
Akira is actually going to put a koku in the box. Was it a box, you said?
Yeah.
Was it a box?
Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I only have two kokus, and now I'm down to one.
Dead load. That's like a year's salary.
And he doesn't say much of anything, but he will acknowledge the performers, with sort of like a bow. After he puts the koku in the box, he'll just sort of acknowledge the performers and bow and thank them for their exceptional performance.
Okay. They're very grateful, and they sort of show that. They bow a lot and are very grateful for the fact that's what you've done. Some of the sort of like younger performers are sort of like, did he just do that? I mean, that's just a lot of money, but okay. What about you, Scott? What are you doing?
Hiroshi will raise an eyebrow at Akira's uncharacteristic display of charity. We'll also furnish a few coins, but absolutely not a koku into the pot, and we'll make a point of singling out the actor who played Shinjo and nod and say that they did the Mistress of the Four Winds great honour.
They are extremely grateful for that. Bow a lot, and obviously thank you for the money. And you are the only unicorn that's here, so they're very, very grateful. In fact, others around you kind of hear your words because you're the only other unicorn to go, actually, I liked your unicorn depiction. And they're sort of like, they nod solemnly, kind of like, go, oh yes, that's good. I guess that leaves you, Charlotte. What is Ayame going to do?
I would give the players praise for their performance and then offer them a blessing.
They're very grateful for your blessing. And as monks, obviously they're all followers of Shinsei and of the Kami, so they're very grateful for that. And especially they use the words, someone who is a knowledgeable Shigenja as the Asawa and the Phoenix are. So they're very grateful for your blessings. So you kind of do all that, you kind of get distracted by the theatre, and when you look again, the gentleman in the sort of like the grey and the white has basically shuffled off. Oh look, it's them again. Right, run away. Which leaves you the rest of the night to sort of like finish off your food. And I guess in the morning, unless you particularly want to do anything else here, are you going to head off to Shiro Zurui?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Okay.
God, you know nothing of Akira's charity. Nothing.
Nor does anybody else, because no one's ever seen it before.
Right, well, you kind of head off. Scott, I guess you're up front as usual.
As always.
And you've got way of the lands.
I thought Scott was always in the rear.
Scott is. Hiroshi's normally up front.
Okay.
Scott tends to hide as far away from anything serious as possible.
Well, you make your way towards Shiro Zurui, which means you have to make your way north off the main road and into the mountains. So you kind of follow this track. There is a road that kind of goes that way, so it's not like it's a hardship to sort of find.
Do we still see the rift?
The rift is way long gone, so it's in the general direction of where it was, but that rift was way back in...
so it wasn't like leading an actual path to it?
No, it was only like a foot... It was only a foot-long gash in the earth.
I misunderstood then.
But yeah, so it would be on the same lie, I suppose, of where that little thing was. But yes, you make your way towards the mountains. It takes about half a day to sort of go up into the hills, and then before long, you're actually starting to follow a mountain path up towards Shiro Zurui. It's chills. There's still snow again on the ground, and you have to kind of make your way through a lot of sort of debris that seems to have fallen onto the road. So you kind of have to make your way gingerly over that. You reckon it's going to probably take you the good part of the whole day to get here, Hiroshi? Yeah, you sort of like make your way towards the keep. Is there anything particular you want to do or anything like that? Or are you happy just as to keep ahead of the game? And I mean, you're on the horseback, or are you going to be leading the horse up the mountains?
Apologies. Hiroshi will keep to the paths mostly. He's not going to be riding. He'll be doing what he normally does. He'll ride maybe 100 150 feet ahead of the main column. Trot back every now and again to make contact with them, but largely keeping to the roads and the paths.
Okay. Could you please, kind sir, make some kind of perception skill roll, if you have perception?
He does indeed.
So a 13, I think.
13, yep.
Okay.
Unless I can add his hunting to it, I guess, but probably not.
No, you're just basically making your way up the mountain path. You're up front, sort of leading your horse, and as you're kind of like getting sort of like probably about halfway into the mountains, a fog is kind of lifted and kind of, or more point, the fog has kind of come down from the mountain. Low-lying cloud, everything starts to get that chilly kind of feeling as the sort of like the drops of sort of the cloud kind of like touch onto your satin and your silk kimonos, and just sort of like making your way towards, or just keeping way ahead. You can see maybe 10 or so foot in front of you, and so you just kind of keep to the main sort of like path. As you're kind of getting towards the main sort of path, you can see a gentleman who kind of like steps out onto the path, and he's sort of like got a large sort of like club, which he's sort of like wielding on his shoulder. You reckon he can see you, but probably hasn't seen the rest of them. And he says, well now, what have we got here?
I am Utaku Hiroshi of the Unicorn Clan. And you would be?
Kazui, the Whisper, I'm called.
Well met.
He says, there's a toll to be paying in these parts.
Is there now? How much would that toll be?
How much money have you got?
Ah, a negotiable toll.
He kind of looks down at his feet, and he starts talking to them and says, what do you mean negotiable toll? I don't think it's negotiable. And he looks off to his side, just up into the mess, and just goes, I don't think it's negotiable. Do you think it's negotiable? No, I don't think it's negotiable. And he kind of looks at you again. He's sort of like squinting, and sort of like his eyes are like flicking backwards and forwards. And
do we see this now? Oh, sorry.
So yeah, so you're kind of like coming, so you can hear the conversation that's being through the mist. So I guess who's next in the line, sort of like going up the path. Well, we'll say it's Katsuni Akira, because that would make sense, right? So did you want to like step closer so that you will be seen, or do you want to just so you can just see the back of Hiroshi's horse?
I don't want to be seen, no, not by this guy, but if I could somehow get a view of him without being seen, that would be preferable.
I guess it's that kind of, as soon as you see him, he'll probably be able to see you in the mist, so unless you were to kind of disappear off the path, perhaps, but that would require some kind of stealth, and that would also require an honor roll from you to kind of show that you're using dishonorable tactics like hiding from your enemy.
Dishonorable tactics? All right, I will step forward. He can see me, and I will make sure he sees my bow.
Yeah, you kind of sort of step forward, and he kind of goes, well, my friend, it looks like you've got another friend. I've got friends too. Look at them all. He kind of looks around him. Looking at this guy who's on his own.
Your friends are a truly mighty host.
Yes, they are. Yes. We are. They are. We all are. I think, yes, that's exactly what we are. He says, he sort of like starts swinging this club around.
You just hit 3 of your friends around the head. That's not very nice.
He looks confused for a second. You can't be like that with me. I'm far too clever for you. I'm definitely far too clever for you.
But my friend, you're stood on a very narrow piece of road, surrounded by these wonderful friends of yours. I'm afraid you are going to have to let us past.
I don't think so. What do we think? Do we think we let him pass? I don't think we should. Or what should we? What will they... Do you think? I'm not sure. And again, he sort of like turns around and sort of like talks behind him and says, should we? No, I don't think we should. I think we need something from you.
At that point, I would probably pull up beside Hiroshi.
They've got themselves priest. Yes, a priest. We've got a priest.
I will notch an arrow, and I will say, step aside, gentlemen.
He looks at you and says, now we're talking. Any more? He shouts into the sort of like mist. What's Hironobu gonna do?
Just waiting, just analyzing the situation.
Okay.
That's right.
Can you make a perception roll for me as well?
12.
You kind of look around and you hear something behind you. You can see coming out of the mist a woman who's kind of really disheveled looking. She's got 2 serrated blades in her hands, and she's sort of like trying to keep low to kind of hide. And you can see that she's sort of like dribbling. There's all this like spit and stuff coming out of her mouth. And she's sort of like, her eyes are also sort of like darting left and right. But you can see that sort of as she sort of like is coming closer, she doesn't look like she's actually seen you. She just looks like she's just in her own world. You can see that she's got a whole load of like pustules around her nose leading up to her right eye.
So I turn around a little bit to kind of be between the two.
Yep. Okay. While you do that, you can see that Suzume Nori has basically gone down into a stance, ready to receive any kind of charge. And Mirumoto Akari has kind of just stopped and is also sort of like, she's slightly behind you and kind of looking to see what's going on. Right. Back to the front. Okay. You notch an arrow, Marco?
That is correct. Does he move out of the way?
He does not. He sort of like starts to walk I mean, he's probably about, let's say he's about 10 foot away from you. And he sort of like starts to gingerly take a step forward while swinging this sort of like large club around.
How close is he to Hiroshi?
He's about 8 foot away from Hiroshi.
Hiroshi's Naginata is about 6.5 feet long. So as long as he's not within Naginata striking range, Hiroshi will let him come closer.
So I'll just tell the guy, I'll warn him again to step aside, and I'll step aside, friend. We wish you no harm.
He says, I don't think so. I think we'll be fine. Of course we'll be fine. Yes, we'll be fine. As he takes a couple of steps closer, you can see that his skin is quite pale. You can also see that there's these, around his neck, you can see these sort of like shadowy tendrils kind of like coming up, almost like it's kind of like holding onto his neck as it kind of like spills out over his sort of like really tattered looking clothing.
I'll say to Hiroshi, what should we do?
Let him come. If it's a fight they wish, it would be dishonorable to turn him down.
Then you won't mind if I do this.
Yame, is there anything you particularly want to do just prior to Akira shooting?
Possibly. Do we have any lanterns with us?
Yeah, probably, maybe. Mirumoto Akari probably had one. Yeah, she was probably in the middle holding it up. That would make sense.
What about spare oil for the lantern?
I'd imagine there's probably a small bottle for probably kind of like one of those kind of like inkwell bottles. I mean, it's not a massive amount.
Kira, before you do that, do you think you could get him drenched in oil at all? We could make this quick. Like toss the lantern at him, throw some of our oil reserve for the lantern.
Do I have a lantern?
You do not. You'd have to get it off of Akari, throw at them. Akari probably has the actual oil, so you've probably got maybe 5-10 seconds to kind of have a conversation before you shoot.
So Ayami mentions that, but I'm like, I don't have any oil.
Okay. Well, in that case, you can shoot for me, please. The difficulty is going to be 20.
What?
Should have tried harder to find the oil.
Oh, that's a hit. That's fine.
25.
Yeah, roll for damage.
Damage is 9.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, you shoot him. The arrow goes straight into his chest, and he doesn't seem to be showing any sign of stopping. But it's embedded in there. Right then, I guess, Scott, you're up next.
In that case, the moment he's in Naginata range, Hiroshi will strike. Can you strike and then go into a stance, or do you have to go into a stance first?
So you determine what your stance is. Are you just going to be in a standard attack stance? You're going to be in a defensive stance? You're going to be in an aggressive stance? You have to decide that before you go into combat, essentially.
Before you strike. Okay, so in that case, I'll just go standard stance then.
Okay. You don't get any bonuses or negatives. Yeah, just hit him.
He will attack with his whole arms ability. Oh, that's a good day at the office.
Should have gone for some raises, right?
I should have gone for some raises. That's 48.
Yeah, you hit him. Yep, you well and truly hit him.
Naginata is an additional dice and additional damage because it's his first strike. Ooh, 27 damage.
You, I guess you kind of swing wide and around and slash down with your Naginata, and yeah, you kind of catch him along the side, just under where Akira had planted the arrow, and you open up his chest and his stomach as part of his intestines kind of like come out, and he sort of makes a horrible sort of like pitiful moan, but takes some more steps towards you, which is like, that should have put anyone down, but has not for this gentleman. Charlotte, what does Ayami want to do?
I'm going to see how this plays out. I'm just going to chill.
Okay, no problem. Hironobu, at the back, you hear, obviously, the exchange behind you. You can't see it. The crazy woman in front of you with the two sort of like serrated blades dribbles some more and kind of like makes her way towards you. What would you like to do?
I guess ready with my katana. I'm just in position to, just waiting, getting ready, and whenever she moves, I will just...
Okay, well, she moves.
What is this is the center position
stance.
which I'm kind of getting ready, and whenever she attacks, I will just...
Yep, okay.
Kind of Kill Bill style.
So you go into your center stance, and she basically comes towards you, so that's fine. Go on then. So you go into your center stance, but she's attacking you this round. So you can either wait, or you can change and just defend. It's up to you. You're just going to hope.
I will hold the position. Okay. Yeah, I'm just holding.
What do I need to hit you, sir?
My armor TM base is 20.
Okay. Yeah, so she sort of like dribbles and sort of like starts twitching her eyes, and she starts slashing wildly, but she's actually sort of like slightly off center of where you are. So she attacks almost next to you instead of you. So she can't quite seem to see you for some reason. And as she does that, she laughs hysterically. She sort of like starts slashing around in front of you. Either she's misjudged it or something's gone awry. Yeah. Okay. Well, Suzuma Nori can't quite get round, so she's sort of like backing up with the dragon Shigenja. You can hear the dragon Shigenja starts to mutter something under her breath as she starts to prepare a spell. Okay then. Well, I am going to go back straight to, I guess... Well, we're going to go with you, actually, Tony. What's Hironobu? I know what Hironobu's going to do. He's going to basically attack her. One strike.
I get an extra, no?
From your center stance, all actions while in that stance. On a round following the adoption of the center stance, you gain a bonus of 1k1 plus your void ring on any one roll made during that turn.
So, okay. So, basically, I click on void, I guess.
You do.
And then roll modifier 1, keep modifier 1.
Yep.
And I just roll.
Yep.
That seems like a lot or not. 36.
Yeah, you hit.
There you go. And no changes for my damage, right?
I think your damage does. Well, you didn't go for any raises, so I'm just going to double check. But I think that with your Jitsu skill of 3, I just want to make sure that you have... Yeah. It's just a standard damage. I say standard, but...
It was like 27.
Yeah, that'll do. So if you want to... Oh, yeah. So with the katana, if you want to, you can spend a point of void to increase your damage by 1k1.
Yeah, why not? I will use...
Okay, so 27 roll dice, and add that to the 27.
So I roll another...
Just roll 1d10. Just roll d10, yeah.
Okay. 3 more.
So 30.
30.
Yeah, again, you kind of like go to the center stance, wait for her to attack. She kind of goes off to the side, which is weird, which means you just take one step and you slice down, taking off her left arm at the elbow, which she sort of like looks at you in horror and kind of like turns towards you as sort of like the arm is like spraying all around. It's this dark, sticky kind of black blood as opposed to sort of like the bright red that you would normally expect. It's not nice. There's something infected and something going on here. Akira, what would you like to do?
Akira would like to shoot this gentleman again. I don't know if there are any special... I was looking at the stances, but it didn't seem like there was anything sort of specific for a ranged attack, so...
No. I mean, normally you'd probably go for sort of like a defense, because then that allows you to defend while shooting, but you've got Hiroshi between you and that, so there's no need for you to do that. Okay. So, did you want to go for any raises? You can do. You can go up to 2 raises. But that would mean it'll be 30 to hit, depending on how many dice you think you have. Well, okay, in which case it's just a standard roll, please.
Wait, hold on.
Yes.
Can I essentially partner in action with Akira shooting the bow by summoning a little bit of air to try and get the arrow to go faster?
Sure, why not? I like that. That's something that you... Okay. Why don't you make an Yeah, you're going to entreat the kami to do that. Okay, but we'll be creative. I like that. Yeah. So why don't you? So I guess you're summoning the air kami, right, to kind of do that. Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, why don't you make a roll using your air as if you're casting a spell?
Priest is in the fray.
What are you, summon or just air roll?
Air roll difficulty is going to be 15, and for every raise above that, we'll give Akira an extra dice to roll for damage.
I do not want to raise.
Okay, so just
because I only have 2 in air, so
okay. Plus, so 2 in the air plus your 1 from your school rank. So that's 3 dice.
Use spell slot. No finish. Casting roll. 14.
So
7
close.
straight across the board.
I mean, you can always spend a void point to add an extra dice to that.
Let's do it.
Go on, do it. More than 1, I think you should be fine. Let's roll 1d10.
1d10. 2.
Yay! So, right, Akira, you can shoot, and you'll get an extra 1 dice in damage.
No.
Would you also like to spend a point of void to get an extra dice?
Yes.
Go on, then. I'd be very generous.
Is it a D10?
It is a D10, yes. You gain 1k1 essentially to your roll.
Oh. Sugar honey iced tea.
The Kami are definitely not with Akira. Even...
What was it? 1 point away from being able to hit it, right?
A very fast arrow goes flying past the person in front of you and embeds itself into sort of like some bedrock. So close, so close. Hiroshi.
Hiroshi is confused that that he's basically disemboweled this guy and he hasn't, but hasn't really got the time to think about it. So he'll spin the naginata over his head and strike again. He's going to try and decapitate this chap.
You want to try and what's your void?
My void is 2.
So you can't decapitate him. You're not good enough for that. But you never know. You can just give it up. You're going to whack.
Very rude.
Do you know what I am going to do?
You need a void of 3 to decapitate someone.
I've not done it before, I don't think, but I'm going to take a raise on this one.
Okay. So difficulty 25 for you?
I think that's going to make it. with a number of explosions, I've just rolled a 45.
Nice. All right. Well, today appears to be all the luck seems to be going Hiroshi's way and no one else's way. So, yeah, roll for damage. You get an extra 1 dice to add to your damage.
Is that a roll and a keep, or is that just a roll?
It's just a roll.
Just a roll. No, ignore that. I just rolled 5. Oh, did I? Why is that I just rolled 7 dice? That should not have rolled 7 dice. My damage is 3 keep 2, so it should have rolled 4 dice, but it just rolled 7. I will try that one again.
So what's your strength?
My strength...
Strength is 2?
Strength is 2? Strength is 3, sorry.
Yeah, so it should be 6k2 plus 1 extra dice. No, 7k2 is correct.
Okay. I didn't realise you added strength to damage as well.
Yeah, well, it automatically does it for you in the Foundry system, which is handy. Okay, yeah, so you basically raise it to go and decapitate it. But you get your naginata caught straight through its collarbone, straight into its chest, and you pull it out. It kind of gives one final sort of noise as it kind of like stands towards you and then falls forward, Tetsubo falling on the floor with sort of like this icky sort of black gooey blood kind of like oozing out of it. It appears to be dead. Hironobu, the slightly crazy woman, turns to her weird face and dribbles some more and tries to attack you. As she swings wildly about, and she kind of connects with your katana a couple of times as you sort of like deftly block her. She's more fervent than accurate. She seems to have gone into a bit of a sort of rage, but she's not particularly aiming the attacks anywhere.
So can I attack her with my Genjutsu?
You can, but unfortunately there's someone else going.
Why?
I know. The hell? You can hear this sort of low rumbling from above you all as you just make out of the corner of your eyes another person who seems to have let go a bunch of rocks and logs as all the rocks and logs roll down the mountain towards you all. What would you like to do? I'll start on the one side. Ayame, what would you like to do?
Can I use Tempest of Air to try and push them out of their path?
Absolutely you can.
That is what I would like to do.
Did you want to spend it here Void to get some extra bonuses before you do this?
Probably, I only have 1 point of Void left, and this is my last air spell slot.
I'm just having a quick look. So you're basically going to probably be able to knock, I would say, most of the stuff out of the way with just a basic standard roll. If you wanted to raise it, you'll definitely get everything out. So standard roll is going to be 15. If you want to go for one raise, it'd be 20, and you're guaranteed to knock all of it out the way.
Can I get it angled in a direction to take out someone else, like Akira? I mean,
Sure.
Buddy with the Kanabo.
That's going to require another raise. That's going to be 25.
I don't like those odds. I will just try and get most of it out of the way. Well, no, sorry. I will spend a void point to try and get it all. Does that increase my difficulty?
So you get keep one dice. So you get to have an extra dice to roll and keep. But the difficulty still stays at 20.
Oh, okay. So casting spell roll. Let's go. Here we go.
Oh my
How
god.
about a 30?
That'll do. Yeah, so they all start to, you kind of start chanting and then you cast your spells. I guess, what does it look like, Charlotte?
For that, I would pull out my war fan and just use that within the motions to give it a strong swipe to try and clear everything out of our path, or everything that's above us that we're in the path of.
Yep.
And move it off to the side.
So using the sort of like fan as the motion. So from the fan, this large cone of, I guess not cone of air, but this large tempest of air kind of like pushes out from your fan and kind of knocks all the sort of like prevailing logs and stones and kind of like throws it everywhere else, protecting all of you. Well, the rest of you don't have to do anything because Ayame has saved your skin.
You're welcome.
All right, I guess Hironobu, you're up next.
So we'll go for this woman. We'll genjutsu her.
Yep. So it's just a standard genjutsu attack, unless you particularly want to do anything else with it.
No. Oh, that sounds like a lot of damage. Or like hit.
That's a lot. Okay, yeah, that's more than enough to
49.
hit. Look at you guys. You should all be going for like raises.
That's my damage. 16.
Okay, you kind of like cut across her, and then you sort of like use your katana in a stabbing motion to sort of like push your katana straight through her chest, put your foot on her sort of like hip. You kick her off, and she sort of staggers back, kind of looking at the wound, holding up half of her arm, and is kind of unsure what to make of what's happened. She's not down yet. Akira, what would you like to do?
The creepy guy in front of us, Hiroshi has dispatched.
Indeed.
Hiroshi-san. Okay. And there's this woman now behind me, so...
Yes, and there's also someone above you.
Oh, they're the ones who started the avalanche.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Are
just
they within...
above you? Above the... Yep. You can
They're
see
within
them.
range, I can see them?
Yeah, you can see like a shadowy kind of figure in the mist, just sort of like within view.
I suppose I will try to shoot the shadowy figure. How hard could that be, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be a standard 15 to hit.
Well, okay.
They're not really doing anything. They're not expecting sort of like an attack or anything like that. They're a little bit taken aback by the fact that they've thrown a bunch of rocks and logs down and it hasn't done anything.
I have an 18, and my damage will be... I'm going to use my last void point.
I think you can make void point for damage, I think.
Yeah, because it's right in the damage window here that I just opened up.
Yep, go on then. Okay. Oh, it's
21,
on as well. Nice.
21 damage.
Yeah, you fire your bow at the person. You can see your arrow stick sort of like in their throat, and the body kind of like falls back out of you. It appears that you only have one person standing. Hiroshi.
Hiroshi doesn't want to get involved in Hironobu's fight unless Hironobu needs him. So he will move, seeing that the other two have been dispatched, he will move to place himself between Hironobu and the rest of the group, and he'll enter a defensive stance. Basically, if the crazy woman tries to get past Hironobu, he will intercept her.
Okay. Yeah, you see, as you kind of do that, you can see Suzumi Nori. She kind of like comes forward, and she also will have a go at said crazy woman, which she does, and she hits her.
As she comes past, can Hiroshi shift his stance to guard her?
Yeah, so she's kind of going forward. So she was already ahead of where you are. So it was Crazy Woman, Hironobu, Suzuminori, and then the Muramoto Shigenja. Then it was Ayame and Akira, and then you. So you're trying to so you go past Ayame and Akira to head towards there. Now that now that Hironobu has stabbed the Crazy Woman, Nori has kind of like seen her sort of like her kind of like, I guess, her window of opportunity, and in a very traditional sort of crane sort of strike, she sort of like steps a couple of foot forward and then slashes down with her katana, slicing the woman's face and chest open. The woman then kind of like gives off this crazy heckling laugh and then drops to the floor dead.